Apparently, OnlyFans exists because of loneliness. I always thought it was because of horniness. How's it going, everybody? I'm MickRed2. Welcome back to the channel. And today, we're going to be going over, surprise, surprise, a City Wants It video entitled Onlyfans, the website capitalizing on loneliness. I'm pretty sure she's going to make a lot of assumptions in this video about the people that view OnlyFans and the people that produce OnlyFans content. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and make too many assumptions and be wrong about a bunch of stuff, so let's hop in and see what she has to say.
Everything is weird.
I mean, yeah. Facts.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to my channel. As per usual, before we do the thing, this video is sponsored by Surfshark. And I'm sure you're all very surprised by that. So when I originally started writing this video, I wanted to talk about the phenomenon of women, and especially young women, creating lewd and nude content online and getting paid for it. And why the meme accounts I follow keep promoting them. Trust me when I say that the ratio of...
So, it's not just women that create OnlyFans content or even porn online. I have a personal friend who's male that has his own OnlyFans account, and he actually does pretty decently well on OnlyFans, selling his content. It's not just women or young women in particular. There's a lot of older women that do it as well.
Of butts to memes is very disappointing. Like, I don't even know why this is a thing. I'm here to laugh, not develop secondhand daddy issues.
Oh my god. Okay. There it is. Okay, so, first of all, just because somebody is provocative or lewd or does porn or is sexually promiscuous or sexually deviant or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't mean they have daddy issues. My wife has an OnlyFans account. I know, shocker. And she has a fantastic relationship with her father. My good friend that I mentioned earlier has an OnlyFans account. He has a good relationship with both his mother and father. Being slutty, being promiscuous, or sexually deviant, if you will, that's not an indicator that you had a rough childhood, a poor childhood, that you have any sort of issues with, in particular for women, your dad. Daddy issues is a very outdated trope from, like, the 70s and 80s that just keeps getting perpetuated, where if a young woman in particular is slutty or dresses a certain way, she must have daddy issues. Anybody who does porn has daddy issues. Anybody who has, more than one partner must have daddy issues. This whole second-hand daddy issues thing is, first of all, it's cringe, and secondly, it's kind of just an insult, an ad hom to the types of people that create the content that's enjoyed by millions. It's just not true.
Anyway, what I found instead was the idea that OnlyFans and similar content and websites like it are driven by loneliness, not only in the male subscribers who consume this content.
Again, it's not just women who make porn, and it's not just men who watch porn. Studies have shown that women watch porn at about the same rate that men do. But to get back to your previous point, the success of OnlyFans in particular, but porn, is not predicated on the existence of loneliness. It's about horniness, really. If you want to be crass about it, sure, it's people get horny, they want to get their rocks off, they go to a website to see the things they want to see. That kind of fits their fetish, It's not about being lonely. But these websites are successful because they generate revenue for the people that post on them. Most people that create OnlyFans content, I would wager, wouldn't be producing OnlyFans content if you couldn't make money off of it. But it's an incredibly lucrative market. The porn industry is fucking massive. You can make a lot of money doing it, and considering the last year that we have economically, it does not surprise me at all that thousands of men and women are flocking to create OnlyFans accounts to try and make ends meet.
But in the female models, for lack of a better term,
No, it's not lack of a better term. That's the term for it. They're models. Whether you want to call them that or not, because you personally find pornography icky because you're a fucking reactionary, just because you find it icky or degenerate doesn't mean they're not models. They're just modeling their naked body rather than clothes.
Created. And I think that's significantly more interesting, and I dare say more important, than memes and butts. Stop doing this. Seriously. It ruins my whole day. Platforms like...
If there's a market for it, people are gonna do it. Seriously, if there are people that are following that meme page that want to see booty and boobs, they want more clicks, they're gonna put what people want. Sorry.
Like OnlyFans, where subscribers pay a monthly fee to see content from specific creators, mostly nude and lewd content, have exploded in popularity this year especially.
Well, I mean, that's not the only way to monetize your content on OnlyFans. My wife does have a monthly subscription, and then you can also, she takes requests for custom content, I suppose. But my friend, whom I mentioned at the beginning of the video, his OnlyFans page is free to follow, but he puts his albums of his various photo shoots or video shoots behind a paywall, and you pay $5 for this album, $10, $15. You buy the album, and you get everything in that album, but you can follow his page, and he'll put lewd content on there for free to kind of entice you. There's more than one way to monetize yourself on OnlyFans. A lot of women do a free OnlyFans, in which case you can't put nudity on your site, and then do just custom content through DMs for donations. People will pay them money, usually through something like PayPal or Cash App, and then through another messaging service, they will send them the custom content that they requested. It's not just a monthly subscription.
I guess that's what happens when 2020 society becomes a bag of dicks. While accurate data is difficult to...
Yeah, 2020 was kind of a bag of dicks, but probably for different reasons than you think. Or at least different reasons than you personally believe it did.
Find in relation to this, an article from April of this year said that OnlyFans had a 75% increase in signups, with more than 170,000 new users each day, with another website suggesting that it now has well over 100 million registered users.
That's a lot of people, but that's not 100 million people making porn. I mean, there are a lot of accounts that don't even do nude content. I know Jacqueline Glenn has an OnlyFans. She doesn't do nude content. She does lewd content, lingerie, and suggestive photos. There are cosplayers that put their cosplay on their OnlyFans, and then they can take commissions from users that want a particular character that they cosplay doing a certain thing, I suppose. Or they can market themselves that way without ever having to show nipple. But it's not 100 million users that are making porn. That's just 100 million people that use the site. More people than that use Pornhub.
97 million of which are only consuming content.
Okay, so what, 3% of them are content creators? People like porn. If they're willing to pay for it, more power to them. Yeah, I mean, the OnlyFans provides a specific service that most other porn sites don't. You can't get custom content on Pornhub, at least as far as I know. I don't use Pornhub. I never really have. Or Brazzers or any of the other mainstream sites where just porn is hosted. OnlyFans, you can speak to your particular content creator and pay for custom content. It's not surprising that it's as popular as it is.
Similar websites such as Patreon have also experienced rapid growth this year as many people have found themselves out of work.
Yeah, Patreon doesn't even have anything to do with sex work. You can do sex work through Patreon, but Patreon is kind of a crowdsourcing website that anybody can use, and considering the last year that we've had economically, it does not surprise me at all.
But we've seen not safe for work content all over social media before, on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and so on.
So Instagram, I know for a fact, because my wife has had an Instagram already banned and she didn't even put nudity on it. They don't allow not safe for work content. Instagram is owned by Facebook. You can't put not safe for work stuff on Facebook, nor can you put it on Instagram. Twitter, yes. Snapchat, sure, but not Instagram.
And it's very clear that there's quite a big market for it. I'm not gonna lie, I could do with seeing a lot less of it on Twitter. That is a place exclusively for political pile-ons.
I'll agree with you there that Twitter is pretty much exclusively for political pile-ons, although I'm sure you have a victim narrative that is most assuredly undeserved, which is why you made this comment. But you know, you can go into the settings of Twitter and tick a little box or slide a little thing over on your phone, and it won't show you not safe for work content. It will hide non-safe for work content. All of the nuts and butts and boobs will go away, or they'll be hidden behind a blur, or there'll be a little gray box that says, this is content that you've chosen not to see, click to see. You don't have to see it if you don't want to. You can make your Twitter safe for work.
I don't want to see your no-no square. But what's funny about OnlyFans and websites just like it is that consumers of this content go out of their way to pay for it. In fact,
yeah, if you want custom porn, you have to go out of your way to pay for it. If I want something in particular from a store, I have to go out of my way to pay for it. Why would this be any different? Why is this a talking point? Of course you have to go out of your way.
If you do a quick search on YouTube, there are plenty of women attesting to how much money they've made or giving instruction on how to sell videos and photos of this nature. But
I mean, there are video tutorials on how to run a YouTube channel, or how to run a Twitch channel, or how to fix a car. There are tutorials for just about anything you need on YouTube. YouTube's the world's second largest search engine. Of course, there's going to be content on YouTube that gives you a tutorial about how to set up and run a successful OnlyFans account. My wife has watched several of them. I watched them with her because I'm kind of helping her run it. Why even bring this up? Of course it's there.
The question plenty of people have been asking has less to do with why women are doing this, but rather why people are paying for this service, so to speak, when they can effectively access it elsewhere for free.
No. You see, this relates to the free market of capitalism. There is a service that is requested. There is a demand, and so supply is going to fill that demand. The service they're asking for and are willing to pay money for that cannot be found elsewhere is going to be fulfilled by people willing to fulfill that request for money. It's not that strange of a concept. You can't get custom porn on mainstream porn platforms because you're not able to interface directly with the content creator. I mean, cam sites possibly, but that's more of a live stream style situation rather than having a wall that you post your content on and people pay to see. You can't go to Pornhub and get custom porn.
But before we get into answering that question, let's hear from our sponsor, Surfshark.
Nope. All right, so that was an ad. I'm just cut that out because I'm not going to shill for her. That was just her sponsored segment. I haven't cut out any of the actual content of the video.
I said, this e-girl phenomenon, for lack of a better term, is not new. But as one writer I read points out, perhaps the tragedy is not so much in the e-girl herself, but rather in the demand for her. Although I do really want to know why teenage girls seem to think that this is in fact a viable career trajectory. So
because it's lucrative as shit. There are women making 6 figures and men on OnlyFans in just a couple of months. People are becoming insanely wealthy. It's like pre-adpocalypse YouTube, where you could upload just about whatever the fuck you want and make millions of dollars doing it. You took advantage of this, Sydney. I remember you complaining about the adpocalypse and how most of your revenue went away and shilling a Patreon, and like all of the reactionaries did this. I only know that because I used to watch reactionary content and have since changed my mindset, but I remember that. OnlyFans it's the same thing. If there's money to be made without much effort, people are going to flock to it, especially in our economy. I don't even know why this is a question. It's capitalism, baby.
Question remains, why does this demand exist? Where has it come from? And what separates it from the porn consumers of days gone by?
Well, as I've said before, you can get custom content, but people need money. You can make money here. People want that content. Therefore, people are going to make that content to sell to the people that want it to make them. You know how business works, right? You know how our economy functions, correct?
On the surface, we can more or less understand why women do what they do. For the green, obviously. Or, you know,
okay,
in the case of Australia, the
it.
rainbow. Belle Delphine, a British model. Are they models? I'm gonna call them models.
Yes, you should call them models. She is a model. I think she's also a Twitch streamer. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, she's a model. You can call her that. It's the proper term.
Who is best known for selling her bathwater, said in a recent podcast.
No, she is not. She is not best known for selling her bathwater. That's just the meme that exploded when she did it. She was a Twitch streamer, I believe. She was a live streamer for the longest time, and then she sold her bathwater. There were lawsuits. She kind of disappeared from social media for about 6 months and came back with an Onlyfans and started doing porn. She's not most well known for selling her bathwater. That's just the meme that exploded.
That she earned somewhere in the realm of $1 million a month on OnlyFans. How?
Good
Many
for
other
her.
Women
How people bought it. I mean, she's incredibly famous. She's very well known, and she's an attractive woman. People are going to want to buy her nudes. There was a celebrity, Bella Thorne, that fucked over your average OnlyFans content creator because she's a massive celebrity that started an OnlyFans account, and people were paying her millions of dollars in a month to see her nudes that she, as far as I understand it, never really delivered on, and people felt scammed, so they started, I believe, suing OnlyFans. So OnlyFans put in a lot of different regulations about how much you can charge, how much you can spend, things like that. But the famous people are going to sell their OnlyFans a lot better than your average Joe. My wife she's getting followers, but she's not making $1 million a month. She's not famous. Belle Delphine is famous. Of course she's going to make millions of dollars doing this. There are a lot of people that want to see her nudes, and she's willing to sell them.
$1,000 a month into the hundreds of thousands. And what's strange about all of this is that this seems to be fairly commonplace. In a way, these women and some men view themselves as the ultimate business person, in charge of what they do, what they post, how they post it, with the hosting platforms taking only a small percentage of their earnings.
Isn't that the American dream? Owning your own business, setting your own hours, charging what you want to charge, and making money doing it? Isn't that the American dream, Sydney? Are you just butthurt that women that are more comfortable showing off their bodies are able to make more money than you by doing that? I'm not saying that you should, especially if you don't feel comfortable doing it, but you have 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you started an OnlyFans and advertised it on your YouTube channel, you would make fucking bank, because people, your fans, one, would want to support that, but two, there's probably some horny dudes in your audience, and horny women, I suppose, that would want to see your nudes and would pay for it. Why are you getting upset at other people doing something that you're not comfortable doing? I'm not comfortable being a crab fisherman. That shit's dangerous. But there are people that are comfortable doing that, and they make bank doing it.
Some people have even argued that this version of sex work is for the ultimate capitalist.
It's not sex work, it is sex work. They are working in the sex industry. And yeah, they would be the ultimate capitalist, I suppose, if you want to look at it through that lens. But no air quotes. Sex work is work. That is the genre of work that they're doing, or the industry in which they work.
And whether or not you agree or disagree with that sentiment is entirely up to you, but the money in question has to come from somewhere. The subscribers, in case that wasn't clear. A video called The Lonely Fans of OnlyFans pointed out that porn and other modes of adult entertainment can't provide meaningful human interaction. Interaction that, in today's ultra-digital, impersonal, instant gratification-esque climate, might be pushing men particularly to subscribe and pay money to creators of their choosing in order to get on a deeper level, or in the very least to feel part of something. And honestly, this makes sense, given what we know about loneliness in the modern world and the hyper-skepticism and hyper-criticism that goes into male-female interactions these days. Thank you, Me Too movement.
I knew she was gonna go there. Okay, first of all, to address the last point, the only men that are made uncomfortable by the Me Too movement are creeps and predators. You get that, right? Normal dudes that don't do that shit aren't worried about a false rape allegation because we aren't predators and we're not harassing women. The bad people are the only people that are made uncomfortable by the Me Too movement. And secondly, considering how fast-paced and digital our life has become, taking that into account, it would make sense that parasocial relationships through the internet would become more popular. Sydney, you have parasocial relationships with your fans, whether you want to admit it or not. I have looked in your comment section. There are people that are leaving comments on your video as though they are talking to you because they feel that they've built this parasocial relationship with you through a camera lens. But another side of that coin of how fast-paced our life is and how easy it is for men to meet women in an online space through a parasocial relationship, a lot of that has to do with the fact that if you're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week and all you have time to do is work, eat, and sleep, you don't have time to meet someone at a bar because you're not going to a bar. Even pre-COVID, before when everything was open and everything was peachy keen, your average person, your average hourly wage person wasn't going to a bar every weekend trying to meet somebody. They couldn't afford it, for one, and two, they don't have the time because they're working so much to pay their bills. Kind of seems like it's capitalism's fault that these parasocial relationships being built online are taking place in the first place. I guarantee you, if we had more money to go out and do things and meet people in an organic fashion, the old-fashioned way, and we had the time to do so, people wouldn't have to rely on parasocial relationships or relationships built through a computer monitor or a phone screen or a camera. Everything that I talk about in some way leads back to capitalism. I can feel it almost every single video. It always leads back to capitalism is ultimately the cause.
Loneliness has been studied and discussed a lot in recent years. Numbers often point to men as feeling the most lonely. Some suggest that 1/3 of men feel lonely at least once a week. Some put this number even higher. A survey released in early 2020 said that more than 3 in 5 Americans feel loneliness, left out, poorly misunderstood, or lacking companionship. This is a 13% increase from 2018 when the survey was first conducted.
I have a feeling that the 3/5 of the population that feels lonely correlates with the percentage of people that are working starvation wages or are not making enough to make ends meet, work a 40-hour week, and have time and money to do other things. There's a large portion of our population that barely makes over the poverty line. I can't help but think that perhaps income has something to do with the fact that 3/5 of Americans feel lonely when it's about 3/5 of Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless, that can't afford a $400 disaster. These are things I've talked about before. Those two seem to me to go hand in hand. That if you don't have the money to miss a paycheck, because then all of your bills are going to be behind, and you don't have the money to go out and go to a bar or a club, and you don't have the time to do that either, of course you're going to be lonely. It's capitalism. It's not modernity.
Numbers even say that this is most prevalent with men in their 20s and men over the age of 50. Not that I can say this with any sense of definitiveness, because obviously we don't have any statistics about it, but I would argue that the people consuming and paying for this subscription-based content are people in those two age brackets.
So I'm not going to say that I disagree with you. I do find it strange that you don't have any facts or data or statistics to back up your claim, yet you're going to speak about it as though it is fact. But again, men in their 20s, whom you're saying are the main victims of this subscription-based porn industry, are the ones in the economic situation that I described before.
But most of us would get to this point and say, okay, so you're lonely, so go out and find someone to kiss, or take home, or rub jelly into your chest hair while you sing Under the Sea. And it's a fair point, one that I have wondered about too. Why not just find a human companion or friends that you can hang out with?
Money and time. I don't want to keep repeating myself because this video is going to be an hour long. Money and time, that's why.
There's really just no clear answer why people don't do those things.
It's clear to me. I've explained it. It is very clear to me why people aren't doing that.
Time published an article in 2015 explaining data that said that a huge portion of people don't have any friends. They made a point of saying that adult men seem especially bad at keeping and cultivating friendships. Unsurprisingly.
Do you think that has anything to do with toxic masculinity? The fact that men, for generations, and I guess for all of human history really, have been raised to conceal their feelings, not express them to others, not have meaningful relationships that don't involve their penis. Do you think that has something to do with it? that men who talk about their emotions or emotionally open up to another person, especially a member of the same gender, are viewed as gay and pussies? Do you think that has something to do with it too? I'm not saying that economics is the only factor. Toxic masculinity factors into this as well, but she's going to ignore that.
Unless, of course, you're on World of Warcraft or CUD. Do people still play World of Warcraft? I don't know.
Yes.
What's really interesting is that apparently loneliness is contagious.
Myself.
Some research reports that people are more likely to be lonely if someone they're directly connected to is lonely. People who aren't lonely tend to become lonelier if they're around people who are. So
that is a basic human emotion called empathy. Empathy, Sydney. I know you don't have it, but most humans have empathy.
To recap, people have no friends and then feel lonely, and then make other people feel lonely, so they also have no friends. How on earth did we survive this long as a species? Seriously. But here's where things get a bit weird.
Well, things haven't been this bad economically in a couple of centuries. I know things were bad before the advent of capitalism, during feudalism, and you know, over in France, you had that whole, the French Revolution and all that stuff. But like economically, things have gotten really, we're living in late stage capitalism. Everything always leads back to capitalism.
And circular. The internet makes people feel less lonely while also making them feel more lonely. Being that we're in a society with a lot of people who have zero friends, the internet provides ample opportunity to make connections with very little effort. Take this 2003 survey of almost 300 students for
if you've got 2 hours a day to not have to work or sleep to work the next day, are you going to use that half that time to get ready and go to somewhere to spend 30 minutes at a bar just to come back so that you can go to bed for your shift in the next morning? Are you gonna get on your computer and talk to your friends online in 2 or 3 minutes? You don't have to get dressed. You don't have to, you know, if you're so inclined, put on makeup. You don't even have to shower. There's little effort involved because you don't have that much time. Of course, people are flocking to internet relationships and internet connections because the time commitment to sustain those and interact with the people that you've met is significantly less than the traditional method of going to a bar or a club or a restaurant.
For example, it found that lonely individuals use the internet and email more and were more likely to use the internet for emotional support than others. Social behavior of lonely individuals consistently was enhanced online, and lonely individuals were more likely to report making online friends and heightened satisfaction with their online friends. It also suggested that users feel
so they're finding a way to cure their loneliness. Why is this bad?
They're able to control their intimacy levels, can remain invisible, and can control the amount and timing of their interactions. In addition to that, the lack of face-to-face communication may help in decreasing self-consciousness and social anxiety. Ironically, but probably not all that surprisingly, this is short-lived, with some research ultimately summarizing that online interactions are not an effective substitute for real-life relationships, describing internet addiction, for example, and loneliness as a vicious cycle. You don't say. So what does all of this mean when it comes?
I understand that you're incredibly wealthy. You're wealthy enough to immigrate to my country from Australia. So you do have the time. Being an internet personality, you upload once a week, once every 2 weeks. So you don't work as much as the average person and obviously enjoy a decent, at least, lifestyle. So you're not dealing with the same situation that the vast majority of Americans are. So it's kind of strange for you to cast aspersions at people whose situation you know nothing about. If people are finding fulfillment online, let them find fulfillment online. It doesn't hurt you in any way.
Comes to buying women's naked photos online. In my humble opinion, I think that what we're seeing happening is lonely men are buying pictures and videos of lonely women. In the video I referenced earlier, the lonely fans of OnlyFans, the creator spoke to 2 men who subscribe to OnlyFans accounts. Both of them answered questions about why they have their subscriptions.
So you have 2 people that you talk to out of the 3 million content creators on OnlyFans. These 2 are supposed to represent the majority of them, and the majority of those people are lonely women that upload to OnlyFans to sell their photos to lonely men. I personally know 3 OnlyFans content creators. One of them being my wife. She's not lonely. We have friends. She has me, she has her daughter, she has her family. She's not a lonely woman. It's 1, something she enjoys doing, and 2, she makes money doing it. You're making assumptions based off of 2 people that you talk to. Do you have any wider data to provide? Do you have any statistics or any sort of studies that have been done on this? I know OnlyFans is only something like 5 years old. They said it started in 2016. Like, do you have data to back up your claims, or are you just speculating based on a conversation you had with two individuals that had a bad experience?
Answer that they have them for a sense of social interaction and communication, if you will.
It actually wasn't more for the porn, it's more for just a connection, because I was dealing with a lot of loneliness because a lot of my friends had left high school and stuff, and I had no one to talk to, and that's why I started using it.
Okay, one of them isn't even a content creator. They're a consumer, right? Let me go back and... Yeah, an OnlyFans subscriber. They're not even a content creator, so you're using this subscriber's testimony and ascribing his emotions to the creators that produce content on OnlyFans, which is the second half of this video that we've seemed to have just transitioned to.
Which ultimately leads one of the men interviewed to attest to the fact that this is effectively monetizing loneliness.
I think we're monetizing loneliness, actually.
We've been monetizing loneliness since the beginning of mankind. There's a saying that prostitution is the world's oldest profession. Lonely men would go and find a lady of the night to keep them company for a price. We've been doing this for a long time. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, before the internet was really a widespread thing, you had to go and buy DVDs or VHS or magazines for your porn. Was that not monetizing loneliness? How is OnlyFans any different than a Maxim magazine or a Playboy magazine? I don't know any other porn mags, or any of the fucking Backdoor Sluts 9 DVDs that you can find at, you know, a gas station in the middle of nowhere. I never bought porn. I don't know, but I just know these things exist. How is that not monetizing loneliness? How is OnlyFans so much worse than the professional porn industry has been, or even the prostitution industry has been for centuries? How is this any different? Why is this suddenly a problem?
Because a lot of people who buy these, they're lonely people, and then people are taking advantage of that.
One article I found...
They're not taking advantage of them. These people are seeking out this content. The OnlyFans content creators aren't hunting down lonely men and convincing them to buy their porn. They're posting their porn online, and lonely men and women and just your average Joe or Jane or they are going to OnlyFans in search of a product that they want. They're not tricking them into anything. They're not deceiving them. They're not conniving. They're selling a product that people are purchasing. You're framing this as though any sort of parasocial relationship is abusive, but you have parasocial relationships with your own fans. I'm not big enough to have those yet, but I'm sure one day, if I continue making content and people find it entertaining, I will one day have parasocial relationships with my fans. And if they donate to me during one of my gaming streams on Twitch, I'm not going to feel bad about that. Twitch.com/McRed2, by the way. I'm not going to feel bad about that because I'm providing a service and they're willingly paying for it or donating towards it.
About this topic while researching for this video describes this phenomenon as the rise of the e-girlfriend. With such a significant absence of human interaction these days, because so much of what we do is online.
Also because people are working 100 hours a week to make ends meet and don't have time.
Coupled with loneliness, lack of friendship, destruction of the family unit, the complicated and often uncomfortable interactions between men and women, isn't it just easier to have completely transactional...
I'm sorry, I'm 29, I'm almost 30, and my entire life, interactions between different genders or peoples that are attracted to one another have always been uncomfortable or awkward. This is not a new phenomenon. It's a trope in almost every single fucking rom-com out there.
Entirely controllable interactions. Paying for online interaction is easy and low effort. There's very little to navigate. There's no dates, no chance of being accused of rape or sexual assault. There's no
chance of being accused of rape or sexual assault if you're not a rapist or a sexual assaulter, or if you don't put yourself in situations where things can be misconstrued.
No awkwardness, no tension, no confusion. It's sort of like the equivalent when a guy messages you and says, "What are you wearing?" And you're like, nothing. When in reality, you're actually wrapped in a blanket on your couch eating handfuls of chips and watching Rick and Morty. Yeah.
So this is something you've done. You've taken advantage of a lonely man, as you would say. Have you not? Because this is not something that's widely talked about. I know about it because I have a wife who's polyamorous, so she's done that on the couch while we're watching The Office, which is sadly no longer on Netflix. But like I know about that because I'm around somebody that does that. But that's not widely known? Sydney, have you taken advantage of a lonely man? Maybe not monetarily, but for shame.
At that point, you've been duped. I'm sorry. The reality is that we could probably extend this e-girlfriend phenomenon to sexually suggestive Twitch streamers, or women with suggestive private Snapchats, maybe even Instagram models. People pay for this not because it's a half-naked or sometimes fully naked woman, but rather because it's digital female attention.
What data do you have to suggest that it's only lonely men seeking digital attention from women that pay attention to an Instagram model or an Onlyfans website or a woman who streams on Twitch in yoga pants? Like, what data do you have to back up this claim, or are you just making assumptions because it fits your narrative? There are women on Twitch that I watch, and I'm not watching them for female interaction, digital or otherwise. I just find their content entertaining. Women are funny. Women are entertaining. Women are more than just their jiggly body parts. And the fact that you're reducing all of the women that create content online, sexual in nature or not, to just their jiggly body parts, their big hooba booba and their booty, it's internalized misogyny, but two, it's disgusting. And you're a woman, and you make content online. Are you talking about yourself in this situation? People that comment on your video, are those men commenting on your video for digital female attention, or are they just enjoying your content?
Attention, mind you, that requires very little effort to get and maintain. It's why websites like egirl.gg exist, which is again referenced in the video Lonely Fans of Onlyfans, where you can effectively rent out the time of a streamer or gamer to play with you. I even remember watching a documentary some time ago about digital girlfriends in Japan. Men effectively download an app that allows them to have a girlfriend in their pocket, such as Ring.
Yes, Japan is facing the same, if not worse, symptoms of late-stage capitalism that America is. Of course, digital companionship is going to be prevalent in a hyper-technological society that is driven by the profit mode, just like America is. This is not strange that it's happening in Japan. They just got there first. But there are alternative explanations for why this phenomena is occurring, other than men are lonely because technology.
Rinko, for example, or Hikari Azuma, both of whom are digital females who offer companionship. Rinko, as a digital girlfriend, is so popular that she's replacing real girlfriends.
If all you have is 5 minutes a day to push buttons on your screen to get a little bit of emotional fulfillment, people are going to do that. But the work demands of late-stage capitalism cause people to not have the time for interpersonal relationships. I'm just repeating myself. Jesus fucking Christ.
Remember that creepy movie Her, where a guy basically dates the AI in his computer? Yeah, that doesn't seem like such a stretch anymore. If you type digital girlfriend into Google, you're met with different websites and applications catering to just that. And maybe we can even correlate this e-girlfriend phenomenon to the significant decline in people having sex. What will probably come as a shock to no one is that the people who spent the most amount of time in a celibate state recently, a large portion of them were men in their 20s. And again, while I don't know for sure, who do you think are the people spending time with online subscriptions and e-girlfriends? I watched.
So again, making assertions with no data to back it up, but as I've said before, capitalism. People don't have time. This is not a strange or unforeseen outcome of the material conditions in which we find ourselves economically and socially.
I watched a video of a girl recently discussing why she deleted her OnlyFans account, which was for a multitude of reasons, but one reason in particular stood out to me.
Then it started where they would like find me on OnlyFans, and then if I didn't answer them on OnlyFans, they would reach out to me on other platforms. And there was a few situations where I feel like I was being harassed. There's this weird thing that happens. It's like they think that since they see me in a more intimate light, that we somehow have a relationship with each other, even though I have no idea who they are and this is my job. They think that even though that they paid for a photo of me, that I for some reason wanted to send it to them. People really do think that they can just talk to sex workers any type of way. I've even had a few guys ask me out, which, hey, don't do that.
I'm sure to some.
Okay, so that is unfortunate that that happened to that woman, and my wife has had some creepy dudes message her on multiple different platforms because all of her social media related to her OnlyFans account is all linked together. You can find the links for her Instagram on her Twitter and her Twitter on her Instagram and her OnlyFans, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's unfortunate, but my wife just has me tell them to fuck off because she doesn't want to deal with it, and I'll tell them to fuck off. I don't mind doing it. But, like, that is an unfortunate side effect. And one thing that the woman in the video that she just referenced said was, people feel like they can talk to sex workers any way they want, and that's because of the cultural opinion about sex work that hasn't changed for generations, that women who do sex work are simply sex objects. Merrick went on Xander Hall's stream, I believe last week or earlier this week, and spoke about how people are surprised that Merrick has personal opinions about politics and shares memes and things of that nature because she's a sex worker. People view sex work and sex workers as just sex work. That the people that produce sexual content are not people outside of that. We need to change the way our society views sex work and sex workers before that's going to change. What happened to that woman is unacceptable, but that's not because it's only lonely men. That's because of the culture, our culture's perception of sex workers and sex work and the opinions that have been informed and ingrained into people from birth about the industry. We just need to change that, and things like that will happen less and less until they don't happen anymore.
To some extent, people feel entitled to your time if they think they've paid for it. Some see that attention extending into the real world, and I think it's very different to liking someone's content because you like what they have to say, like you and I might do with YouTubers that we follow, or liking someone's pictures on Instagram and following their account for their gym photos or their beach snaps. I think this speaks to a deeper level than those examples. Rather than those very innocuous examples, this speaks to a deeper want for risk-free attention. But
well, this also speaks to the fact that in our puritanical society that we've all been raised into, we view sex and anything related to sex as inherently intimate. And if somebody's willing to share that portion of them with you, that must mean there's extra strings rather than it just simply being an activity, which is what I and my wife and other people that I know view sex and sexuality as. Sex is an activity. Just because you have sex with someone doesn't necessarily mean that you are emotionally invested in them or are seeking an emotional future with that person. You are engaging in an activity. If I were to play flag football with somebody, that doesn't automatically create a connection between us on an emotional level. And I think we need to divorce the two concepts of sex and emotions societally, and that would fix a lot of problems in society, especially for women. Just like in this case, if we divorced those two concepts, you wouldn't be seeing this problem.
let me give men a rest for a second. Let's talk about the women. Personally, I love meme pages and other accounts that post pictures of people contradicting themselves online because it's really funny, and I'm not sorry about it. But what I've seen posted time and time again is women complaining about being single and not finding a nice man, immediately followed by a call to action to subscribe to their Onlyfans or whatever. Now, obviously, as with a lot of other things in this video, due to a complete lack of statistics on the matter and this being only anecdotal, I can't actually comment on how common or uncommon it is for lonely women to create this kind of content, but I do still think this is an observation worth noting.
Don't you think that that might have something to do with society's opinion and view of sex workers and sex in general? Many men have been conditioned to believe that a woman that engages in those activities is not a quality woman, not somebody that they would want to spend their time with. They view it as cheating, even if they're just making solo content, because they have been taught from a very young age that a woman's body, should they be with them romantically, belongs to the man. That if I have a girlfriend, her body is mine and nobody else gets to look at it because I own it. That's misogyny. That's a problem. Yeah, this is happening, but it's not because women are making porn. It's because of the way our society has conditioned men and women as well to view sex workers and view relationships and sex in general. If we change society's perception around sex, sex work, and the relationship between sex and emotion, you wouldn't be seeing this issue.
Although, like I said, not a huge amount of data exists, one survey of 55 sex workers in Melbourne, Australia found that almost 80% of them said that their job has a negative impact on their romantic relationships.
So, a couple things. First of all, you cited a study of 55 sex workers from Melbourne, Australia. I'm not saying that the data is inherently wrong, but that's an incredibly small sample size for a study to use to extrapolate data from. But more importantly, yeah, it's very apparent that sex workers are viewed in a negative light in our society, and that does impact their romantic relationships and the people that are willing to be with a sex worker. But there are men out there, like myself, and women who don't have a problem being with a sex worker emotionally. Like I've said previously in this video several times, my wife, the woman I've been married to for 9 years, has an Onlyfans. Now, we have an open relationship. My wife is polyamorous, so maybe my situation's different, but I don't view sex work as anything different than working at like McDonald's or a department store or a law firm or a cable company or what have you. Like, it is a way to make money, and that's all that matters under capitalism, is how much money you can make. There are people out there that are more than happy to be with a sex worker and don't have a problem with the industry that they work in. But I think what I've been saying over the last probably 10 minutes of this video is that all boils down to our society's perception of both women and women's bodies, but also sex work in general. All we have to do is just change society's perception of that with the new generation, and these problems will go away. Sex workers won't have a problem finding an intimate partner or an emotional partner, because the perception of what they do for a living will have changed with the coming generation. And I fully see that happening with how positive our society has become. At least millennials and Gen Z have become about sex work. And once Gen X and the boomers finally die off, we won't have their old puritanical ways weighing us down. But my daughter's generation, Generation Alpha, I guarantee you is going to have a massively different opinion of sex work, of capitalism, of relationships, of a myriad of different things that we as millennials, and I guess Gen Z if you're watching, grew up with, because we have boomer grandparents and Gen X parents. We just need to change our society's view of these topics, and these problems, I guarantee you, will go away.
Which isn't really all that shocking, I've got to say. One OnlyFans creator made a video explaining that making this kind of content does actually make dating really difficult.
But now that I'm single, I've been asking people, just random guys that I'm talking to, like, would you care you're going out with a girl on OnlyFans? And they don't say, for example, they don't know that I have one. They say, oh, I wouldn't really go out with a girl who had one. You have to be prepared for that. If you are like looking for a relationship, just be prepared that the majority of people won't be accepting of whatever you do.
In a way, I think it's all very ironic. Men don't want to actually date the woman who acts like this online, but will happily connect with her and pay for her content. And these women don't want to date their subscribers, but will happily take their money. Which leads me to think that this is
Would you date any of your viewers, Sydney? Would you engage in a romantic relationship with people that only know you through a camera lens? Because if not, you're being a hypocrite right now. You don't know who is subscribed to you. You don't know these people personally. It's not unreasonable for a woman to be uncomfortable dating somebody that they only know through the internet. That's perfectly fine. Or a man, for that matter. Or an NB. Being inclusive here. Trying. Okay, I already talked about society's perception of sex work, which is what leads men to have these opinions. It's unfortunate and it needs to change. Pointing it out is not going to fix the problem. But I guarantee you, Sydney, you don't want to fix the problem because you view sex work as degeneracy.
Exhausting, and that modern society was in fact a mistake. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am tired. Now, whether it's fair or unfair, I think there is a case to be made here that it isn't just lonely men paying for interaction. Lonely women are too, but just in a different way. And where men are addicted to their e-relationships, for lack of a better term, women are addicted to...
No, there are lonely women that are looking for the same digital interaction that men are. Women watch porn at just about the same rate as men do. It's not a boys' club. Everybody watches porn, everybody masturbates, everybody has sex, everybody poops. These are just things that people do. It's not only men that watch porn, and it's not only women that produce porn.
The validation and the comments and the money they receive. Social media websites like Facebook and Instagram are
Would you say working a 9-to-5 job at a factory or a cable company makes you desperate for attention and money that you receive because you're going there to make a paycheck and happen to make emotional connections with your coworkers? Would you say that about a traditional job? Or do you only have this opinion about sex work?
designed to be as addictive as possible. Likes and comments make you crave more likes and comments.
That's actually true. Facebook, Instagram, all of the big social medias, they hired psychologists to make their apps as addictive as possible. This is actually true.
In the same way that you might crave more alcohol or drugs. Why should the reward that both parties receive on Onlyfans be any different? It's no different to porn addiction, which is arguably one of the most harmful and destructive things for men and women. But
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry. Did you just say that porn addiction is one of the most destructive things for both men and women? I'm sorry. Have ya heard of meth? Or cocaine? Or cigarettes? Those give you cancer, by the way. Or alcohol, which harms your lip. There are so many things that are addictive that are infinitely more harmful than porn. There have been studies that show that men who watch porn, particularly more extreme porn, have difficulty becoming aroused or reaching climax, but that's about the only downs. It's not gonna kill you. It's not gonna give you cancer. What the fuck?
realistically, this synthetic intimacy and manufactured affection should go the same way as any other addiction to something artificial. In the long term, it's unfulfilling. Cue the circle of sadness and loneliness and frowns for everyone. Ultimately, a lot of this gets compared to the sugar baby, sugar daddy phenomenon, which has been around since, forever, where women spend time with men who effectively pay them for a series of services, like touching their no-no square. The reality is that we probably couldn't have this conversation unless I address terms like simp, which specifically is often attached.
Why are we bringing up simp in this situation? I don't see what she has to say, I guess. The simp is an insult. It's not
attached to this topic overall. This is a term that describes men who more or less throw money or attention at someone else, often.
It stands for sucker idolizing mediocre pussy, but I don't know why the term simp is applicable to sex work. It's not a man that's throwing money at a fully dressed woman that's just playing Overwatch. They're sex workers. It's the sex industry. They're paying for sexual attention. They're not throwing money at a woman in the hopes of gaining sexual attention from that person. That's the whole point of OnlyFans, is to garner sexual attention from the person that's providing the service.
A woman in order to win their affection, which I personally hate in the same way that I hate the term thought, which 9 times out of 10 is not even applied to people who actually fit that criteria. It's always applied to innocuous behavior. Why do people do this? Anyway, I hate the term simp because much in the same way, I feel like it is applied in innocuous situations for innocuous behavior and used to shame men when they're just being nice as a general rule. But I also feel like it is a gross oversimplification of what is actually going on in these situations, which is, it's not my favorite, but it's undeniable that people use these terms like simp or incel or virgin to shame men for this kind of behavior, which has to speak, at least in part, to the fact that people are aware that we have effectively digitalized and monetized affection.
I'm sorry, I am a dude, and I grew up as a dude, and I grew up around other dudes. It was weird if you didn't watch porn. Men don't get made fun of for paying for OnlyFans, at least not in my experience. I've not personally experienced that, and I work around a lot of guys. The majority of the people in my workspace are men, and none of them get made fun of for buying OnlyFans or watching porn. What the fuck are you talking about? Men don't get mocked for buying porn or watching porn. They get mocked for throwing money at a female Twitch streamer that is in no way sexualizing herself or using her sexuality to try and garner views or provide entertainment. They get made fun of, but people don't get made fun of for buying OnlyFans or watching porn.
And a large body of people just don't seem okay with that at all. At the end of the day, I think a lot of this circles back around to the fact that we have effectively digitalized relationships and interaction. Things are...
and that's because of capitalism.
More difficult, not only because of how impersonal and easy it is to just jump on an app and start swiping for new people, but also because of how strained and complicated male-female interactions have become. Our increasingly feminist society has also decided that selling images online is empowering, but
well, first of all, it's a good thing that our society is becoming increasingly more female forward and feminist, but yes, I'm sorry, I have personal experience with it. My wife has had a massive self-esteem boost since starting her OnlyFans. It is empowering. It makes you feel good about yourself. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good about yourself. She feels good about herself that there are people on the internet that she doesn't know that find her attractive. She has some body image issues, which we have worked on personally, and they're a lot better than when I met her, for sure. She's doing great, but having this positive affirmation from people that she doesn't know on the internet has made her feel more confident in her own body. I don't view that as a bad thing. Yeah, sex work is empowering to women.
Often fails to mention the future ramifications of these actions. The internet is forever, as they say. And as women take to these websites because of how easy it is to make money, and more men
I want to point out it's not easy to make money. We've had to do a lot of work to put together her OnlyFans and build a following on other social media platforms. It's not as easy as pushing a button, posting a tit pic, and you rake in money. There's a lot of work involved.
Men continue to subscribe and consume, the gap between meaningful interactions gets bigger and bigger, and regrettably, loneliness prevails.
You know what's driving that gap further apart even faster? Capitalism, the amount of hours people are having to work and therefore don't have time for meaningful interpersonal relationships. Capitalism is killing us faster than OnlyFans, faster than porn. But you don't bring that up, do ya?
Which brings us to one circular situation where everyone is ultimately unhappy and no one feels fulfilled. So basically, the human embodiment of 2020. In any case, if you ask someone like...
You're making the assumption that women in particular, but people who make content on OnlyFans are unhappy based on three clips that you've shown in this video of people that had negative experiences of it. My entire childhood, I was taught that if I get a good job, I'll find fulfillment. And yet, when I had a good job, and I mean, I have a good job now, and I do find fulfillment in it, but it fucking sucks sometimes. Working sucks. There are people that complain about my job all the time. So many people complain about it, yet we're not conditioned to think that working in this manner, the way we do underneath the capitalist system, is somehow bad for people. And there are way more negative experiences from the capitalist job market than there are from OnlyFans. And yet we're judging people that make OnlyFans based off of the negative experiences that some of the users and content creators have had. We don't do this for any other industry other than sex work.
Like me, I would say that the world of e-girls and e-girlfriends and the men who pay for their remote affection is a pretty grim picture. And in the end, it is very unhelpful.
I would say that people having to work 90 hours a week at McDonald's to afford an apartment with 4 roommates is a pretty grim picture. That's just capitalism. Capitalism is what's causing this, Sydney.
To ignore the necessity of good relationships and connections when explaining this phenomenon. And maybe what we should be doing is focusing our attention on the loneliness behind the demand. Now, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder that you can download Surfshark VPN using...
All right, that's gonna be it. I am not shilling for you. Goodbye. Well, that was 20 minutes of Sydney equating all of mankind's woes to sex work rather than the capitalist system that necessitates it. Everything that she said, every single complaint that she had about the negative aspects of OnlyFans, the cause of those complaints, those ills, was the capitalist system that we have. People can't build meaningful relationships so they go online. Why can't they build it? Because they don't have time or money to do so. Men are lonely, and so they're going online and paying for female attention. Why are they doing that? Because they can't do it in person because they don't have time or money. Why are women going to OnlyFans to try and make money? Because of the capitalist system we live in, where people are required to work 80 or 90 hours a week to afford an apartment with roommates. And she specifically focused on young people and the ills of capitalism particularly affect that age demographic. Everything she complained about was caused by capitalism and the late-stage capitalist symptoms that we're experiencing in our society. It had nothing to do with sex work. She just thinks it's icky. She is a reactionary that has puritanical views, that views any sort of sexual deviancy, including sex work, as degeneracy. She's just wrong about what's causing the problems in society, and she's doing so willfully so she can hate something that she doesn't like and she doesn't understand. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I've been McRed2. You can follow me at my socials here. I'm on Twitter. I also stream on Twitch. I started about 8 o'clock ish, depends on how bedtime goes. As I've said, I have a kid. Every Saturday night and Sunday night, if I have a day off during the week, I try to get up then too, so you might get a bonus stream. Don't forget to drop a like, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you can get updates whenever I upload. I try to upload at least once a week. It's been a little rocky lately, but I'm getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Until the next one, peace.